This video is on public debt. What is public debt? Public debt is an accumulated stock of government financial liabilities. It is measured by summing up the face value of that stock. The term public debt is often used interchangeably with the term sovereign debt. Public debt usually refers to national debt. Some countries also include the debt owned by the states and municipalities. Therefore, one has to be careful when comparing public debt with countries to make sure that these definitions are the same. Why government borrows? The government borrows when their revenues from taxes and non-taxes fall short of its spending requirements. The government resorts to borrowing from markets and external sources. The government borrows in this hope to achieve long-term benefits for future generations and to fix medium-term fluctuations and short-term crises. Government don't retire or die. They have big assets as security and have the capacity to increase their income from private sector by raising taxes and non-taxes. So they are seen as creditworthy and trusted, which can borrow large sums of money over a long period of time by issuing bonds. They can hope future growth to reduce their debt over time. So big governments, even with their big debts, can keep on borrowings, but poor countries, they require support from the developments, banks and the international monetary funds. Why or when the public debt is so good? In a short run, public debt is a good way for countries to get extra fund to invest in economic growth. When it's used correctly, public debt improves the standard of living in a country. It allows the government to build new roads, bridges, improve education and healthcare. But when public debt is bad when the government tend to take too much debt because the benefit make them popular with voters. This allows political leaders to increase spending without raising taxes. Investors usually measure the level of risk by comparing debt to GDP ratio, which give them an indications of how likely the country can pay off its debt. Investors usually don't become very concerned until the debt to GDP ratio reaches a critical level. But what is that critical level? Neither the economic theory nor the practical thumb rule that prescribes an optimum level of tax GDP or the debt GDP ratio. Its sustainability is closely related to the taxable capacity. In developing countries where tax GDP ratio is low, the sustainability ceilings to debt GDP is comparatively or comparably low. In India, what constitutes the maximum in the national debt? It is the dated securities. What is the dated securities? The dated securities are long-term securities or bonds of the government that carries a fixed or the floating coupon or interest rates. Securities are issued by the government, both central and the states, for mobilizing funds. But why they are called dated securities? They are called dated securities because the date of its maturity is very much expressed on this. Thank you.